How did I start? Well, I started actually early on in my career because men just started to talk about and women started to talk about being sexual abuse survivors.
I grew up as the only child of two highly dysfunctional alcoholic parents. And I was sexually abused in the home by my father. My mother saw it and did nothing, walked away from it, and I interpreted that as it being okay. I don't know when it started, but I know it stopped when I was 13.
He spent a lot of time with me and gave me a lot of attention. So between the ages of 3 and 5, he molested and sexually abused me. And I never told anybody, didn't really know what to do with it. Had a hard time making sense of somebody that I really cared about that showed interest in me doing something that was so hurtful.
I walked in on him while he was masturbating, and he included me in that session. I was under 5.
The minister kind of took me under his wing, and I realize now that it was actually part of probably a 2-year grooming process. Put me in positions in the church of being affirmed and being noticed, and it actually gave opportunities for my dad to be proud of me while I was there. On a weekend camp out, he sexually abused me, and at that point then I broke away from the church, stopped going. No one asked questions, they just knew that I was being different, probably attributed to teenage years, that kind of thing.
Around when I was 7, I was molested by my grandfather. I think it occurred over one summer, as far as I can tell.
I knew it was there. I finally picked it up, made the phone call, and a lady answered the phone, and I was so choked up I couldn't talk. It's even on the verge of it now as I think of it. And what seemed like 10 minutes, it was probably 10 seconds, but she said, "Sir, whoever you are, stay on the line. I'm stay with you. Do not hang up." I don't even remember her name, but she was one of the angels of my life, because obviously she had experienced this before. And I said, "I need help."
I think that if it hadn't been for my wife, I would not have moved along the process at the rate that I have, which would have robbed me of some really wonderful years ahead. So I don't think that I would be where I am today had she not been the person to encourage and to offer the support and listen to the stories. And when I come back from counseling or when I come back from group, she always wants to know how it goes. I don't have to disclose things that are personal or things that are confidential for the other guys in the group, but she's just always curious about, like, how is it serving me, and how is it that I'm where am I in the process. So
The recovery is like uncovering or taking the layers off an onion. It really is. Every time you think you figure something out, something else will pop up, and you can start looking at that and then figure out how to deal with that.
1994 was when we started the Weekends of Recovery program, and from there we started bringing survivors together in all places around the country. 5 different places where we bring 28 guys in for a weekend, and we had a staff of 8 therapists who worked with these men, and so it was a very intense experience, but really provided a sense of community for these men. So it's been an incredible journey.
And it was amazing to be with a group of people that actually understand what I'm saying without having to, when you say you feel shame, these people know what that shame really means and what that represents. How insurmountable of a task it is to let that go.
the thing about that group that I think is so powerful is that, and I probably am correct in saying, none of us had male intimacy with anyone. And we, in that group, are sharing some of our darkest secrets with people who won't judge us. And it's a very diverse group. I mean, there are all different kinds of guys that come to the group. And I think that all of us just feel accepted there. That no matter what we say, no matter what we do, no matter what our lowest point is, we'll all say, I get it. Like, I know where you are with that. and you won't always be there. There'll be another place that you'll be in the next time. And they rejoice in that. They support you in it.
The isolation of being a survivor is pretty intense, and I want to be able to let people know that there is recovery and that you can put it behind you. I don't know that we're ever totally recovered, but the negative impacts of it you can put past.
I may be recovering or thriving as a result of my work with dealing with child and sexual abuse, but we're recovering not only from that, but from lots of other things too. You know, there are disappointments, there are, you know, failures, there are things that are not necessarily tied into abuse, but they play with our belief about ourselves or confirm old messages from, 40, 50 years ago.
If you are a victim or if you know of victims, number one, it's not your fault. And number two, help is available, recovery is available, and just know that it wasn't your fault, you're not alone, recovery's available, and help's available, and recovery's possible.